All right, come on in, guys, because it's time for another episode of Outwatch, a Survivor rewatch podcast. We've got a special episode for you today. This is our Survivor All Runners-Up season draft. My name's Alex, and I will, as always, be running you through our episode today. And I am joined by a special first-time guest, Elizabeth. Welcome to Outwatch.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
As our listeners know, Outwatch is usually comprised of a mixture of Survivor superfans and newbies. You definitely fall in the superfan category.
Definitely.
Yeah. What was your, tell us your Survivor introduction story.
So as a child, I watched it growing up. I think the most vivid season memory was All Stars with Rob and Amber.
Yeah.
I kind of have these snippets of memories of the early seasons. And then in about, I think 2012, I kind of got really deep into it.
Yeah.
So the Philippines,
Yes.
I watched live, and then I kind of went back and binge watched everything else.
Awesome.
And then from that point on, I've pretty much been deep into the podcast world and the just watching live with everybody.
Yeah,
so.
Awesome. Philippines is maybe my favorite season.
It's pretty good.
Top three for me, I think.
Yeah. Denise is impressive.
She is psyched to see her in season 40.
Yeah.
She's like, I think, a low-key sleeper winner pick.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
So what we're doing today, this is a special episode of Outwatch. Hopefully you listened to our Cagayan finale recently. What a fun time. My llama is still in my room. I need to deliver it to our winner. On our normal rewatch series, what we do is we'll watch an old season episode by episode and talk about it. But everybody else I'm watching it with has never seen the season before. So we do Fantasy Survivor, and the winner gets a special prize. And of course, for Cagayan, it's a llama because of Tony's llama.
Definitely.
But I just haven't delivered it yet. But today we're doing a special episode where we've done a draft episode in the past. This is going to be similar, where we are drafting for an all runners-up season. So Elizabeth and I will go back and forth selecting past Survivor players who made it to the final tribal council and lost and have never won subsequently. A point of order note, we are going to choose these people imagining them as if they're going to play in real life in 2019 or whatever. We're not going to transport 2000 version of Colby Donaldson into 2020. It's going to be Colby Donaldson at whatever age he is now, etc. So, really excited for this. I think this is going to be a lot of fun.
Definitely, me too.
I think a great way to start our conversation about runners-up and final tribal councils is, do you have a favorite or one of your favorite final tribal councils of all time?
So I think the first one that comes to mind for me is actually Cook Islands.
Interesting.
I wish that it had been a final two, but I think it was the test of brains versus challenge prowess and brawn in Yule versus Ozzy, and the two great skills of Survivor, and seeing how they compare to each other.
Yeah.
It would have been more epic if it was a final two rather than the first final three, but was still one of my favorites just from the way that the competitors were paired together. And it's one of the strongest final twos, I think. Final threes, but of two people in a final tribal council.
That's a really good answer. Yeah, I hadn't even considered that. That's really good.
I'm partial to Cook Island. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's a great one. I've got to one of my favorites, I'm blanking on the name of the season. It was and now I'm blanking on the name of the winner. Gosh, why am I doing this? It's the one that Coach lost.
South Pacific.
With
Sophie Clark.
With Sophie, yeah. I love that one too because Sophie just freaking ran circles around Coach and actually talking about game stuff, and then Coach it becomes clear he doesn't really know what he's doing or talking about.
Definitely.
Yeah, and just the way that it, I think, subverts what so many people expected. It was really good. Yeah, Sophie I think is a really underrated winner too.
Definitely, yeah. I love Sophie as a winner.
Yeah. So the way that this draft is going to work, we're going to go back and forth. We've got the list of all losing finalists in front of us. And we are going to draft two tribes of 10 players. And we can use whatever parameters we want to decide who we want. If it's somebody that we think would actually be really good, if it's somebody we just want to see play again, if it's a joke, whatever. We'll pick whoever we want. We did a while back. We did an all pre-merge season, and there were some fun picks.
Oh yeah.
In there for sure that like definitely have no business playing Survivor again, but like you've got to give Chicken Morris like a try. So yeah, what do you say? Let's hop into it.
Yep, I'm ready to go.
All right. I'll flip a coin here to decide who gets the first pick. Do you want heads or tails?
I'll take heads.
Ooh, it's tails. Your boy gets pick number 1. Let me pull up my notes here, but I'm pretty confident.
Yeah, I think this one's a
in
giveaway.
Pick number 1. Give me Dominic Abate.
Yep.
Was that number
was
1 on
also
your
mine,
board too?
Number 1, yeah.
So I'll take Dom. Dom, of course, the closest person to ever, the person who came the closest to winning Survivor with not winning, tying with Wendell in Ghost Island. Certainly one of the most capable people on this list, I think. Not only because he was so close, but he is obviously a great strategic player, super fun to watch. Would definitely love to see him in another season. I wonder if he would kind of have the same effect going into it as like winners do coming back into other seasons, where he's almost viewed as like the person who is the biggest threat for that reason. But I'd love to see him give it a shot. And based on some of the people on this list, maybe he'd be able to overcome it and do it. So give me Dominic Abate, slam dunk pick number 1.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that pick. And I agree with your thinking that he would have a big target. I think he's definitely the biggest name, and he also has a little bit of recency bias in that it's very fresh in people's minds, but he's basically a winner. He just lost
missed it by one vote.
Yeah, and it wasn't even a real, like, I mean, it was a real vote, but it wasn't one of the main votes.
That season, for as like frustrating as it was, that finale was so good. I loved that finale.
Definitely.
And just like the moment when Jeff comes back and is like, I'll read the votes, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
Super cool.
I think everyone was like, it's a tie!
Yeah, it was so cool.
Yep.
All right,
agree.
The pick is yours. Who you got?
All right, so this one's actually a little tricky for me.
Okay.
I have 2 that are almost equal in my mind, and I think you may disagree with me, but I think I'm going to actually take Mama C as my first pick.
Wow, all the way at the top.
I think she is very similar to some other people in the losing finalist pool, but I think she potentially has less of a target on her back and that people will forget her. Had Mike not gone on the run that he did in Worlds Apart, I think that she would have won the game. And I definitely think she has a great shot at winning.
That's a good pick. She was on my list too, maybe not quite that high, but and that's frankly due to my personal biases. That season is the only season ever that I like stopped watching.
Yeah, I hate that season.
I hated it.
It's one of my very least favorite seasons of all time. But I think Mama C is the bright spot in the terribleness of that season.
I would love to see her play again. She was fun. All right, it's mine again. I also have, just a few people that I really want, and I don't know who I'm going to prioritize. Okay, I'm going to maybe kind of take a weird swing here, but give me Hannah Shapiro.
Yep.
I think Hannah is a super underrated player. She was like right there in the heat of when I think her archetype was somebody that was just severely undervalued in like the meta game of Survivor, kind of like the funny, anxious young girl, right? Whereas now we've seen people who fill that role have a little bit more success and command a little bit more respect, perhaps. I loved watching Hannah play and would love to watch her play again. That's one of my favorite seasons too. I think this one's kind of slept on. I love Millennials Gen X, so would love to see Hannah again and think that she like is a really smart and strong player and could do a lot of damage.
Yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite seasons, and I had her pretty high up on my list.
Yeah.
The thing I worry about with Hannah is the same thing she ran into the first time around, is that people maybe won't be aware of what she's doing, and that they won't notice the move she's making
Yeah.
because she does have a more timid personality.
Yeah.
But I think she's definitely intelligent and she's very skilled at the game.
Yeah. This is my own like projection of how there's no solid evidence to support this, but I feel like judging on Hannah's like social media presence nowadays, that the current version of Hannah is a lot more self-assured and confident than the version that played Survivor. Again, this is me judging like what she posts on Instagram.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love to see that version play and think that, yeah, maybe that problem would be alleviated a little bit. Thinking that maybe she's a little more confident and like willing to be out there. So
I think so too. Definitely.
All right, back to you.
All right. So I'm honestly kind of surprised you didn't take this person last round, just because I think you think highly of this person. I'm a little hesitant because they're very similar to my last pick in my mind, and that's Chrissy Hofbeck.
Yeah, that was the other one I was thinking about.
Yeah, I think that she and Mama C played. They have similar reputations, I guess, in the game. Chrissy, I definitely think could have won her season. She almost lost in the same way that Mama C did in terms of someone having idols or immunity for a very long stretch, kind of stopping her in the end.
Yeah.
But I think that on a return season, she would be great. And I think she would have a somewhat large target, but not as large as some other people. So
Yeah, I agree. I think if Chrissy plays in a season 6 seasons earlier than the one she did, like she wins that 100 times out of 100.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chrissy's great. I almost picked her too. Great challenge performer.
Yeah.
Really fun to watch. Yeah, good pick.
I agree.
Okay, this next one makes me a little nervous, but in that I think he would maybe have the biggest target on his back of anybody playing. I'm going to pick Spencer Bledsoe. I love watching Spencer play Survivor. I loved watching him both times he played. We talked about this pre-recording, is that a lot of these people maybe on their second time in were like going into it were people that you'd say, yeah, I would love to watch him play again. But then you watch him play again, you're like, that's fine. But I thought Spencer was great on his second time. This is actually the time he does make it to Final Tribal. Ran into a Survivor legend in Jeremy Collins. And yeah, I think just like the personal growth that it seemed like he experienced from in between Cagayan to Second Chances was huge. And yeah, I would like to see him play again, but I also do think that of everybody on this list, maybe with like a few exceptions, Spencer is like maybe the biggest name Survivor person. So I think it'd be tough for him to get super deep into the game, but would love to see him try.
Yeah, I agree. I had him high up on my list as well.
Yeah.
And I think he would have a big target. He's definitely done really well in both seasons.
Yeah.
And I think he definitely could win on his third time out. We've seen people do it before.
True, yeah.
And he got better in his second time, which is sort of rare.
Yeah.
Generally, people do worse at that point. I don't know what his story would be in the third season. That's the only thing. I feel like he's grown so much in his 2 seasons that, I mean, it would be interesting to see an older Spencer, but I think he would do well.
Old grizzled Spencer Bledsoe. We just finished our Cagayan walkthrough or rewatch. One of the like subtle moments that I think is so funny is after like Cass flips on that tribal and he's like, Cass, 0% chance of winning this game. I think it's so funny.
Yeah, definitely. I think, it would be great to see the two of them. I mean, I guess we did see them together, but it wasn't quite the same.
They have one of, if not the
interesting.
best, like Survivor relationships ever.
Definitely.
Yeah, this is the thing we talked about in our rewatch a lot, is how they're like, it seems they like loathe each other, yet they like need each other in like this really interesting way.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right, back to you.
Okay, so this one might be weird. I am going to go with Laurel Johnson.
Okay.
So
she was high on mine too, actually.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I think Laurel. I think that in a second time out, Laurel will be extraordinary because of what her first time was.
Yeah.
And because of how well she knows the game, I think that she won't hesitate to make big moves and to figure out where she needs to move to have the numbers.
Yep.
And I think she's really savvy, and I think people will underestimate her because of the first game that she played. And I think she'll be able to make a lot of connections and won't scare people in terms of them taking her to the end. They'll think she might be a GOAT again. I think she'll run into similar things that Hannah will run into in terms of making sure people see what she's doing and that they don't, they're not like blind to the moves she's making.
Yeah, I like Laurel a lot. She was my pregame winner pick for that season, and so I have a special connection to her because I, was rooting for her the whole time because I wanted to be right. Yeah, I agree with all that. I think that she would definitely be underestimated the second time, and is like a smart and good player who just got really stuck in a tough spot, and still like obviously made it to the final tribal. So she inherently like made it farther than everyone else with a few exceptions. So. Yeah, would love to see Laurel play again. I think she's got a ton of upside.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, she just ran into two very strong powerhouse players. But I think in most seasons, unfortunately in this season, she'll still have to play against Dominic.
Right, that's true. That would be really interesting.
Yeah, but I don't think she would fall into the same trap she did this her first time around.
Yeah. All right, good pick. Give me Courtney Yates. Fan favorite Courtney Yates. Man, what a unique and fun player for the time in which she played. I feel like she was a person that Survivor didn't cast at the time that she was casted, and I think opened the door for other non-traditional reality show people. And so, yeah, obviously you love her for that. And also, it's just been such a long time since we've seen Courtney, and she was a really compelling and interesting and like smart player. I have no idea where her life has taken her in the X number of years since she last played, but I'd love to see her play again. So I'll take Courtney.
I definitely agree. Even if Courtney wasn't to make it to the end in the season, just her presence would be enjoyable.
Yes.
Even in Heroes versus Villains, I enjoyed getting a little bit of Courtney. I think she would do well. I think she would be probably underestimated. There's potentially people who would be in the season that wouldn't even know who Courtney is.
For sure, yeah. She's early, like, era of Survivor. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. And I think she doesn't get enough credit for China and her performance there. And I think Amanda gets a lot of the attention when Courtney really should have gotten some more credit.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, Todd was obviously amazing.
Right.
But Courtney was right there with him.
Yep. Yeah, she got the GOAT status when, she really didn't deserve it. Yeah.
Cool. All right, so my next pick is coming out of nowhere. So, I'm going to go with Sabrina Thompson from One World. Okay. So, One World is strangely enough one of my favorite, I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite seasons, but it's up there.
Yeah.
Not because of the strategy. I mean, Kim is awesome.
Right.
It's nice that a group of women make it to the end. And I think that Sabrina was overshadowed by Kim, and she kind of had the same problem that Laurel had in that she didn't know when to jump ship to take that person out. And I think aside from that, she played a great game. I think she would be completely underestimated. And I think she's had a few years to gain some more wisdom on the game and how she played. And so I think that she would be very successful in a second time out.
Yeah. She was on my list. I don't remember that season super well, but I was doing my research and did remember her. And yeah, that she was definitely a capable player, but tough to win when you're playing against the GOAT. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that is a definitely an under the radar pick, but seems like a good one.
I have a soft spot for One World.
Yeah, that's a weird one to have a soft spot for. I don't know. I'm so torn in this next pick, and I feel like both of them are like basic options. But I got to do what my heart's telling me. Give me Fishback. Got to have him on an all runners up season. He is one of the iconic Survivor runners up.
Got Courtney and Steven on the same track.
That'll be fun. Would love that. Yeah, I think that, Fishback, again, is the, like, iconic runner-up in that he, in his mind, played a winning game, and in the mind of everybody on the jury, did not. And just like that, I don't know, that difference is just, like, one of the things that makes Survivor so interesting, in that there is no clear win condition. It's whatever people decide the win condition is. Fishback is obviously a smart player. He has always been one of my favorites to watch. And again, I just don't think you can have a runners-up season without including Stephen Fishback in that. Would he want to play Survivor again? I don't know. But would love to see him take on the likes of some of these other runners-up and see how it goes. So gotta have Fishback.
Definitely. And I think Steven's a great pick. The only hesitation I have with it is we've seen him play a second time, and he had a weird obsession with Joe that kind of did him in. I think that he, maybe if he didn't have that in his eyes, he might have made it farther. We can definitely see from the way that JT has played that Steven was integral to his game. Right. A lot of people thought that JT could have done that without him, but definitely I think Steven was important, and JT would not have won without Steven. And so Steven definitely deserves a place in an all-losing finalist season.
What if they did a Survivor, like, Rivals season, where you had, I feel like people have talked about this before, either, like, on the same or opposing tribes, like iconic pairs, like you had Steven versus Joe, and you had, I don't know, I can't think of any other immediate ones off the top of my head that would be... If you gave me a second to think about it.
Rob and Russell, but we kind of already had that
we did that. You could do like a Cass and Spencer.
Yeah.
You know.
Definitely. Really, I think it would be great. I think there was a lot that you could do with Rivals, for sure.
Yeah, that'd be fun. All right. Who is your fifth pick?
All right. So... Oh, man, this one's tricky. I've got all women on my tribe, but I think I'm going to keep up the trend.
Keep it going.
There's a lot of strong women in this group, and I am going to go with Stephanie LaGrossa.
Interesting. Okay.
So Stephanie, I think, like, back when she was the runner-up in Guatemala, I don't know that I would have picked her, but I definitely think that she played a stronger game than Danny, and I think that she's a mother now, and she's kind of lived her life, and she's kind of in a sweet spot for Survivor, and I think maybe people have forgotten about her a little bit. She's still a really big name. There's still people that reference her when they're asked who their favorite Survivor player is.
Which is wild.
It's a little tricky, I think she could still have a big target, but I think that she'll be the kind of person that people will want to align with her because of the player and the reputation that she has. And that she could, I think, adapt to the new gameplay, even though she played in some older seasons. And I think her heroes versus villains experience will help also to kind of counteract her reputation.
Sure,
it wasn't the greatest showing, and I think it's not her true showing.
She would be such, like, a fundamentally different player at this point now, too.
Definitely.
Like, feel a completely different archetype.
It'd be really she'd be like the mom, like the old woman, which is so
crazy.
Weird. And she's really not that old, but I think it would just be, like, for nostalgia's sake, it would be fun to see her.
You've got a lot of women over 40 on your tribe.
I know.
I'm just noticing. But I probably says something like that's a...
But they're strong women over 40. They could all hold... I mean, Chrissy's won a ton of challenges. Stephanie, obviously. I think they'd all be great.
Now you just need Lisa Welchel.
I know. I also have a soft spot for her. Shocking, I
know. Before we move on to the next pick, we've each taken 5 picks, so let's do a quick recap of where our tribes stand at this point. My tribe... Maybe we should come up with cool tribe names before the end of this.
Okay.
TBD. I've got Dominic Abate, Hannah Shapiro, Spencer Bledsoe, Courtney Yates, and Stephen Fishback. A veritable pantheon of Survivor misfits.
It's true.
Elizabeth has got Mama C, Chrissy Hoffbeck, Laurel Johnson, Sabrina, what's her last name? Sabrina Thompson, and Stephanie LaGrossa. And we're halfway through already. What time flies. Wow. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pick the other half of the pair I was debating between. And I'll take Tasha. I know Tasha has also played a few times herself. And similarly to Spencer, actually performed better finish-wise on her second time even though I think maybe we think of her first season as like maybe more successful, at least I do. I think she blended into the background a little bit more on her second time. But yeah, again, I've said it a number of times, but having just rewatched Kaguyan, I was so impressed by her like game awareness. Her first time out, of course, like her physical ability is really strong, but all the way back in like the second episode when the brains are like falling apart, and you know Garrett Adelstein is on his rampage. It's like she's the only one who's like, dog, this is not how you play Survivor. Like we're playing Survivor out here, and really kind of like started that insurrection, which is a very small moment in that, but I think an example of how, yeah, she's really game savvy, and isn't just like a strong challenge performer, but really is a good social and like strategic player too. So yeah, Tasha's one of my, I think, favorite survivors as well, and so would love to see her play again.
I think so. I think that's a great pick. I had her on my list, not terribly high up, but not, she was still in my, I would say, top 20.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. Her second season, she definitely faded into the background. I think that second season, the Kaguyan people also had a really big target just in general because there were so many of them.
Yeah.
And I don't know that it would help her to be out there with Spencer again. They might still have a target.
Right? Yeah.
But I think she would be the less targeted of the pair.
Yeah.
Spencer will definitely take the brunt of that. And so she might be able to skate under the radar.
Maybe even better than a Survivor Rivals is like, it wouldn't be blood versus water, but similar in that like you have iconic Survivor pairs.
Yeah.
Like, not that are hate each other, but like work well together. So like, I don't know how you would split up tribes to make that work. You could probably just do like a blood versus water sort of thing. But yeah, because then you could do like, like the Steven and JT, have them like play together again. That would be really interesting.
Yeah.
And just honestly imagining like Tasha and Spencer are like playing together, like tugs at my heartstrings.
Yeah.
I would love to see them like work together and play together. It'd be so fun.
Well, and it gives them incentive to work together because I think often there's a feeling of needing to keep your distance when you're on a season with someone from your old season. And that would, like, everyone would have that, and so it would be really interesting, I think. I agree.
All right, who you got? Pick number 6.
Okay. So this one, I'm gonna add a male to my team.
All right.
I don't know that I think my women are gonna be stronger than him physically, but I'm gonna go with Ryan Ulrich.
No way! He was actually one of my next ones too.
So yeah, I think that he got way overshadowed by Ben and Chrissy. And I guess I'm putting him on the same tribe with Chrissy, so that would be tricky, but I think he is so like forgotten that he would do really well. And we know he knows the game, he's a super fan. And he's able to adapt to what's going on. And I just think that he would do really well a second time out. Yeah. And nobody would think about him.
I think that he would say that being put on the same tribe as Chrissy is a lot like a sad birthday party.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I had Ryan pretty close next too. I think that like he won the pre-merge of that season.
Definitely.
Effectively, as far as airtime goes and like agency goes. And then, he just like disappeared. I think he probably rose his target too high and tried to slide back under and then could never get back up. But
and all the idols that came out, and then he had the stuff at the beginning, but then not as much later. And so I think that it would be fun thinking of your pairs team to put Ryan and like Devin together.
Devin, I need more Devin Pinto
back.
Yeah.
Unfortunately he wasn't a finalist, but he was definitely on the top.
He would be gone like
right away.
First round.
Oh yeah, he's so likable.
Yeah, he is great. Yeah, I would love to see Ryan play again. I think he'd be a really interesting player to watch. Yeah, if we're just going off a sheer challenge performance right now, there's honestly I was gonna like rag on yours, but I don't really have.
I have Chrissy, and Chrissy's
good.
Beast,
Chrissy's great. Yeah.
Laurel and Sabrina are both not bad. Stephanie LaGrossa also.
That's
great.
true.
So
Yeah, I think you actually would.
My women are gonna.
Tasha's great.
Spencer's good with
Spencer's good.
puzzles. Steven will probably help out my tribe.
Yeah. Yeah.
By shooting our targets.
Shooting your targets. We have to make sure that there aren't any like thick logs around. For Steven to have to deal with. Okay, so now we're on to pick number 7, right?
Yeah.
And we're nearing the end of this. Okay. This is a pick that I would not have ever made until the finale episode of this individual's season. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Ooh.
Take a guess.
Is it Gavin?
It's Gavin. It's Gavin.
Okay.
Yeah, I was annoyed with Gavin all season. Mm-hmm. It's like, I thought preseason he would be a really interesting character, a really smart player. And then all season it seemed like he was doing nothing. And then we got to the finale, and I thought he should have won. So I can probably talk at length about why I think that is, but it would require a lot of processing, and I'll spare all of you that. But I think Gavin's probably an underrated, under-the-radar player who would, like some of these other people, not be the biggest target, and yet I think has the potential to play like a winning game. I think there's probably a whole lot of Gavin's game that we just didn't see on the screen, hopefully.
Yeah.
I'll take a flyer on Gavin here.
I think it's a good pick. I had him on my list. I was he's in this like limbo where I was like, I might pick him on the spur of a moment, but I don't know for sure. I'm with you. His final tribal council really, I was rooting for him to win. I think a big part of that is just that he played Survivor.
Right.
And, it was a different game, but I think the hard part is we don't know what his game was through the season, and it's really hard to know how much he was actually controlling things. But I think he would still be great on a second season. Yeah. I just don't know. It's hard to know how much he would control things and if his story would be different.
Yeah, and he's not great in confessional, which is a bummer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he would do a better job the second time out after experiencing the edge of extinction, like stress, trauma that he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, not being on edge of extinction, of course, but being a victim of the edge of extinction.
Well, and I think because it was so much of Rick and Chris at the end that it's really hard to know what Gavin did, but he seemed to understand the game and what his role was in it, so. Yep,
I left that episode thinking Gavin should have won.
Yeah.
So.
I have to say, though, that finale it was very exciting.
It was.
Like one of the most exciting finales.
It was super compelling, yeah. When you get into the deeper questions about what it means for Survivor as a game, obviously it gets not good. But yeah, it was really fun TV.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so looking at my list, I just have a ton of women, but I'm still going to keep with it. So I am going to pick, unsurprisingly, from Cook Islands, Becky Lee. So
I don't even know who that is.
I know.
Honestly.
So Becky gets a bad rap for riding Yule's coattails through the season. She gets 0 votes in the final tribal council. People tend to forget that she existed because it was the first final 3. But really it was a top 2. But I think that Becky is super intelligent. She knows the game really well, and she knew at the time that Yule was her best way to the end. We see it time and time again. Laurel did it with Dominic and Wendell, and I think that Becky, on her own, she's now, I think, in her 40s, and she's a businesswoman, and she's definitely well established. She's in great physical shape, and so I think that she would do really well. I think obviously no one would remember her.
Yeah.
And so she should do great on a second season.
Yeah. I don't know who she is.
Gotta watch Cook Islands.
I know, yeah. I've slipped on that one.
She does. She's famous for her very terrible fire making challenge. So you would hope that motivated her to learn how to make fire a little bit better, given what's going on right now. But I think that would be the biggest worry. But maybe she'll surprise people and they'll think she can't make fire, and then she'll win it at the end.
All I've been doing,
since the fire making win is like the way to win now.
All I've been doing is making fires for the last 12 years.
Yeah.
I can't get this moment out of my head.
It was pretty bad.
I do remember the really bad fire challenge, yeah. That's the one where they gave them matches and everything.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Tough look.
They ran out of matches.
Tough look. Okay, we're on to pick number 8. Running down to the bottom here, kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel here. to some degree. Oh, goodness gracious. Nobody do I feel super great about that's left. I'm going to take Angelina from David vs. Goliath. Angelina is a strong player. She found an idol. She is a controlling and masterminding person who got under the skin of a lot of people that she played with, but I like to think that her awareness of that would yield better fruits in her gameplay in a second time around. She is definitely an abrasive person. And to be honest, for most of the season when I did watch her, I did not love watching her. But I think, looking at some of these options, I would like to see her play again. She was fun to watch, and I think has some upside if she kind of smooths out the edges of her social game.
Mm-hmm. I think so too. I think she played a good game. I think Mike helped her out a lot.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how she'd do without him kind of also manipulating people with her.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if she had more awareness, I feel like she had awareness because just in her career path, she must know that about herself.
Right.
But I think she just really strongly embraced the villain side of her.
Yep.
And she was definitely fun TV, and so I would love to watch her play again.
Yep.
I would be worried that it would be hard for her to overcome her villainous reputation.
Gotta have some villains, though.
Definitely. And I mean, I'm all for it. Just don't know what her likelihood is of winning.
Yeah.
But she made it to the end once, so
True.
She could do it again.
Loved the idea of a power alliance between Hannah and Angelina.
Oh yeah.
I could totally see
that.
that.
Hannah could really utilize that to her benefit.
Yeah. All right, who you got? Pick number 8.
Cool, yeah. I've got a couple options. They're all kind of strange.
Uh-huh.
So this one is it's tricky because this person has become more famous since being on Survivor.
I was thinking about this person too.
Yeah, and they did really well. I think people were surprised that they didn't win their first season.
Yep.
I would be afraid though now they've kind of got the fame problem to deal with. So I'm going to go with Chase Rice.
Yes.
Add a little bit of strength on the male side of my tribe.
I almost picked him.
Yeah, so I think that he played really well in Nicaragua.
Yeah.
Nicaragua is also a season I really don't like that much. And so I almost didn't want to pick him just because I don't like that season, but I think that he would do really well. And I feel it's hard to say what the Survivor community knows of him because I feel like he's not that big of a name celebrity-wise. People kind of know of him, but he's not like Taylor Swift.
Totally.
I think he could still fly under the radar a little bit.
Yeah, that's an interesting question because there's definitely been times where I will be, with a friend or something, and they'll play a song that's by Chase Rice or whatever, and I'm like, hey, did you know this guy almost won Survivor? They're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, yeah, it's real. I'd almost picked him too. He did play a relatively good game in a season of weak players, But yeah, it would be interesting for Survivor as a show to have this person who, played Survivor and then got famous, and is now relatively famous, play again.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. And got famous for reasons other than playing Survivor,
Definitely. And and he's very charming. I think people would still like him.
Yeah.
And for the most part, I think he would be able to adapt to what the game is now. It's hard to say. Nicaragua had its own weird twists, so I think he'd do okay.
He feels like Merge Boot.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Chase Rice off the board. We've only got 2 picks left, and I am now in the place where I'm debating between picking the big names that have played a lot, but feel like you've got to have them in runner-up seasons, or picking the deep cuts, or picking the jokes. And I don't know where I'm gonna land. I'm just gonna take a swing here.
Okay.
I don't want to do it. I'm gonna do Aubrey. Aubrey just played like a season ago, but gosh darn it if I'm not the biggest Aubrey Bracco fan. She is so fun and so smart and good at Survivor, and every time she was on the screen in Edge of Extinction, it made it better. Even though it was not a great season and she did not do a lot. Gosh darn it if I wasn't nearly crying when she was crying when she found that idol. I get the sense that Aubrey's probably done with Survivor after that whole debacle, and we've seen a lot of her, especially recently, but I don't know. One of the biggest, like, losing finalist kind of snubs of all time. She feels like an important person to have on this season if you're saying, like, these people almost won. Yeah, I think more than any other season, when we finished the finale and Aubrey didn't win, I was, like, confused as to how that happened. I feel like every other time I've been like, yeah, I wish that didn't happen, but I understand. Like, I just did not get it with Aubrey. Of course, like, now I understand it more, but yeah. Like, give me Aubrey.
I'm with you. I love Aubrey.
Yeah.
That finale was definitely, I think, the most I have yelled after a final reveal. I was so mad that she had lost. And I think with her and Steven both, I would have been more excited for this if they hadn't come back already, and they kind of flopped a little bit.
Yeah.
And even after Game Changers, I was still full on in Aubrey mode. Like, I even picked her for Edge of Extinction. But then, I don't know, I feel like she's kind of lost her mojo. Yeah. And I'm worried for her, but I also am with you that I love watching her on my screen, so I can't fault you for the pick.
She did get played.
Definitely.
Victoria.
Yeah, and I mean, Victoria's a great player.
She is.
So
I need to see her play
there's nothing to be ashamed of there, but...
All right.
Okay.
Second to last pick.
So... This is tricky. I'm kind of with you. There's a couple people that I just kind of want to see for the fun of it. Yeah. I don't know how well they would do, but this person, it's been long enough that potentially they're a different person and they might be really great. Okay. So they are probably one of the most villainous people just for one single decision, and that's Dreams. From Survivor Fiji. Yeah. So, in the season of Survivor Fiji, I could not stand Dreams. I loved Yao Man. It killed me when he backstabbed him for the car. But I think that it would be fun to see an old, mature Dreams and just to see how his new outlook on the game. I think potentially he could really surprise a lot of people. I don't know anything about what he's up to now, or if he follows the game, or how he would do, but I think that it would be really fun for nostalgia's sake to have him back in the game.
Can you remind our listeners and me the details of that, the car backstabbing, if you recall them yourself?
So basically in the final 4, Dreams told Yao Man that he would give him immunity if he would give him the car, and then he ended up backstabbing him. Or Dreams was gonna give him the car afterwards, or get the car afterwards, and so basically he traded immunity for the car, but then never gave the car to Yao Man. And then Yao Man got voted out because of it. So and Yao Man was such a sweet guy.
He was, I remember Yao Man vividly.
And he came back, but then it was kind of not so great. So.
Wasn't Yao Man like the original fake idol maker? Or one of them, right?
Yeah, he definitely made a fake idol. I don't know if you would say he's the original. It gets a little tricky in there, but he definitely was one of the first.
Yeah, I remember that. All right, we're down to our final pick. There's a lot of options here. A lot of real all-stars left on the board, like Ken McNichol and Missy Payne, Michael Skupin and Lisa Welchel. A lot of people that you just really need on your tribe. Philip Shepard, Sugar Kuiper.
I thought maybe you were gonna go for a Philip pick last round. When I think
I'm done on Philip.
I think jokes of all jokes, that's Philip Shepard.
It is, yeah, absolutely not. It's not even funny. My joke pick would be Lillian Morris.
She really fits on my tribe, but I am definitely not going to put her there.
She would
Although
be
she's probably like in her 60s or 70s now.
She was old in Pearl Islands, man.
Yeah, so
she's got to be in her 70s. We could look it up.
It'd be great, 7-year-old Lil.
Yeah. First one gone, 100%. Not even close.
I don't know.
Unless they somehow win, but that's going to be tough. I've got to end with a bang, you know? I can't just pick some random potential upside person. Let's get the Dragon Slayer back in here, huh? Let's go with Coach. This is
got him with Courtney.
Get him with Courtney again, yeah. Coach is somebody that I don't necessarily enjoy, but I think it would be pretty wild to see him play Survivor again. Yeah, I don't know. Have you listened to any of the live shows that he's been at?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's a wild dude still. So.
Yeah, he's a crazy person.
Yep.
But always enjoyable to watch.
Yeah.
And him and Jeff Probst together is such a fun dynamic. They're each trying to control the other one.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Jeff's always in control, but Coach maybe doesn't realize that.
Yeah, he thinks he is.
But yeah, he's a good pick, I think, just for entertainment's sake.
I don't think he makes it out of the merge, but...
Yeah, but I mean, in South Pacific, I didn't think he would make it that far, and then he made it to the end. I mean, didn't really actually have a shot at winning at the end, but he did a lot better than I expected.
Yeah. And again, a season of losing finalists, I feel like Coach is one of the iconic ones.
Definitely.
All right, how are you rounding out your tribe?
This is tricky.
It is hard. There's so many people we're leaving on the board.
I know. That's what I've had a couple of people above people I've picked. But I just haven't felt compelled to go with them. It's really tough. I think, man, I don't know. Okay. I think I'm just going to go with this person I've had at 13 on my list this whole time, and I keep skipping over them.
Okay.
I don't know if you'll remember them, but I'm going to go with Nalia Dennis.
Uh-huh.
So from Survivor Marquesas.
Yep.
She was 21 at the time, so she's only in her 40s now. She's definitely a Survivor superfan.
Yeah.
She is around the Survivor community. She keeps up with the game. She's also a 40-something mother, I believe.
Yeah,
so she
right
fits
into
in
your
really
wheelhouse.
well with the rest of my tribe. And I just think it would be fun to have someone from the pre-All-Stars.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I think she's the only one that we have
Yeah, the earlier...
pre-All-Stars. So I feel like we got to have somebody from the early seasons.
Stephanie LaGrossa was the earliest one pre her.
Yeah. And Palau, great season too.
Yeah. Let's do a quick moratorium on the people we didn't pick. Just some of the names left on the board, and then we'll take a look at our tribes. Undrafted are the likes of Kelly Wigglesworth. I'm just going through some of the highlights here. Colby Donaldson, Matthew from Panama.
Not
Panama.
from Amazon.
Amazon, yeah,
Mateo.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't think he's a crazy person.
He is a crazy person.
I did not pick him.
Rob Mariano, losing finalist.
Yeah, but I thought we took him out of the running.
Oh, you're right,
he's
because
a
he
winner.
won. You're right. He's out of the running. Danielle DiLorenzo.
I did have... So she was one I went back and forth on for a long time. When I first thought of the list, Danielle was in my head immediately. I was like, Danielle.
Yeah.
But then the more I thought about it, we saw her in Heroes vs. Villains, and I
Right.
kind of talked myself out of it.
Yeah. Ozzy unpicked. Amanda Kimmel, a 2-time losing finalist, unpicked. We got Philip Shepard, of course. Russell Hantz was the person I almost picked, but I couldn't get myself to do it. Isn't he playing on Australian Survivor?
He played on Australian Survivor, but he got voted out in the first tribal
Yeah,
council.
I think that's just the affirmation we need, that there's no need to include him.
Yeah, I mean, Russell was great for what he was,
Yep.
but I don't need to see him anymore.
Yep, we've moved on.
And that's what I feel like I definitely erred on the side of people who we haven't seen play a second time, or that we definitely have seen them grow through their arc.
Yeah.
Whereas Colby, I kind of feel like he had the end of his season.
Yep.
I loved him in Australia, but
Yep.
I just couldn't bring myself to pick him.
Colby was my first ever favorite survivor.
I've always said if I get a dog since then, I guess none of my dogs have died since then, that I would name it Colby. But I haven't. So
no need. Who else is left on the board? Dawn Meehan. She's a pretty iconic survivor for a while there. Monica Culpepper's played a couple times. Will Sims.
Yeah, I definitely did not consider picking him.
Tai Trang. Troyzan.
See, Troyzan was someone I might have picked before Game Changers.
Yeah.
But after Game Changers, I was like,
he was on Game Changers?
Yep. But he's also from one of my beloved seasons of One World.
Yeah.
So Chelsea Messner was someone I wanted to pick. I love Chelsea. She's on Southern Charm. And she's now...
Are you serious?
Yeah, she's on a Bravo reality TV show of...
That's hilarious.
Like, young people in the South.
All right.
And it's enjoyable. Kim guest starred, and I
heard about this.
I would love to see her on Survivor again. It's just hard to say because I feel like of the two, Sabrina was definitely the better player. So that's why I went with Sabrina.
Yeah. Any other people that were left on the board that were of note to you?
I don't think so. I mean, so I had Katie Gallagher was someone I thought of. She's from Palau. She's kind of like the Courtney before Courtney, in terms of she was really witty young woman. It's tough for me in the end because I thought Ian and Tom are both better players than her. If Ian had been the finalist, I would have 100% picked him, but it was Katie, so she was kind of one of those where I was maybe going to pick her in the spur of a moment, but I didn't.
Yeah. We could have had both Culpeppers.
Yeah.
Again.
It's hard. I mean, I think Monica and Brad both would have a pretty good shot again. I think, though, they do kind of have some big targets on them now. They both have, like, their names carry a lot of weight now.
Yep.
Especially now that they both made it to the end.
Right.
So it'd be crazy if they were on it together again.
That would be a really interesting dynamic if they were on it as, like, the only actual pair of people who, like, have a relationship outside the game.
Yeah.
You know, that would be really interesting. Mike White was somebody that I kind of thought about, but yeah, I don't know. Similarly, I feel like his story has been written and there's not much else there.
I agree. Yeah, he played a great game, but it felt like he almost kind of gave up at the end in terms of he was like, I don't really care if I win this.
Right.
And so it's kind of like, how would he go through another 39 days?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't think there's much else there.
I think it would definitely be an exciting season, though.
Yeah, I really love the idea of this sort of season, especially coming off of the unannounced but all but confirmed season 40 that is, you know, going to be all former winners. To follow that up with like an all former runners-up, I think would be a really interesting thing to do. You do kind of a similar format as to what they did the season before. I think would be fun. So
yeah.
Take a look at your tribe here. Let's go ahead and just run through each of our tribes, and then we can reflect on
mothers.
Yeah, the tribe of mothers. You ended up with Mama C, Chrissy Hoffbeck, Laurel Johnson, Sabrina from One World, Stephanie LaGrossa, Ryan Ulrich, Becky Lee, Chase Rice, Dreams, and Nalia. And I've got Dom, Hannah Shapiro, Spencer Bledsoe, Courtney Yates, Stephen Fishback, Tasha Fox, Gavin, Whitson, Angelina Keeley, Aubrey Bracco, and Coach. What do you think about your tribe? How do you imagine this tribe functioning together? Who do you think from your tribe has the best shot to win? How do you project this all shaken out?
It's a tricky thing. So Ryan and Chrissy obviously probably have the strongest connection of the people on my tribe, which potentially would make them targets, except that they're gonna need. So Ryan, I think, would be in a bad spot because Chrissy is the stronger of the two, and in the pre-merge, you kind of need physical strength.
Yep.
So I think Ryan might be targeted quickly, but he also could find an idol quickly.
Yeah.
Of most of those people, I think he's probably the scrappiest in terms of looking for that. I think you could see in my tribe like a old school versus new school pairing, like Nalia and Stephanie. And even Chase almost and Dreams and Becky. I mean, those are all like older seasons, and then I've got the other half are newer seasons.
Yeah.
I think it would be interesting. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm looking at my squad too. I definitely leaned towards the more recent seasons.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's more likely they'd get picked in.
Sure. Yeah, I'm just less familiar with some of those real old school people, but yeah, I think there would be some really interesting groupings with like you have a mixture of real like Survivor big names and Coach and Fishback and Aubrey and Spencer, with some of these people like Gavin or Angelina or even I guess like Hannah to a lesser extent, who are more less well known people, and it'd be interesting to see how that either leads to sort of that divide, or if the people like Coach and Fishback are like battling it out.
Yeah, I think, well, just in you reading that off, I had two really crazy ideas. So one was Angelina harnessing Coach's craziness for her powers. Yes. And the other would be Dom trying to, like, jokingly pair himself up with Coach as, like, his new Wendell.
I could totally see that.
Coach would go for it, but then Dom would know that he could totally, like, one-up Coach and, like, that he's not really his Wendell.
I would love a Dom-Coach pairing.
Yeah.
That would be so fun. The
key would be, I mean, Dom put up with Chris Noble.
True.
And he could probably deal with his craziness.
Yeah.
And like talking with a straight face to someone who's saying completely absurd things. I think that would be really, those three together, I think would be really fun.
Yeah. Could you imagine also like a Hannah Shapiro, Aubrey Bracco, Angelina Keeley, like power alliance?
Yeah, that would be great.
That would be wonderful.
Well, I feel like too, you kind of have, so like Hannah and Aubrey are kind of the same archetype.
Yeah.
Spencer and Steven kind of the same archetype. So
you
have like the nerdy pairs, and they could potentially bond over their super fandom.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this would be a really fun season. You've got a good mix of people that are like definitely those big name draws. You've got some lesser known people that have big upside. If you're to make your winner pick, theoretical winner pick of this season based on what we've got.
I think that I will go with Laurel Johnson.
Yeah.
So I think Laurel's got Dom on your tribe that she can connect with in any type of swap or merge. Mm-hmm. She also probably has connections with Steven and Spencer just through the superfan community.
Yeah.
And I also think that she'll be able to relate to the mothers on my tribe and maybe harness their nurturing and networking for her good.
Yeah.
What about you?
I considered Laurel too for those reasons, and that she really is like non-threatening at the beginning of the game and could really put a good game underneath her. I'm going to pick Hannah Shapiro, I think for similar reasons, and that she is not going to be the biggest target on that tribe, but I think can, in a stealthy way that maybe commands more attention than in the past, put together a really good game. I don't know who, is going to like dislike. Actually, I do know who's going to dislike Hannah. That's going to be like Coach and maybe like Dominic. But
she's not that far off from, I mean, she's a lot different than Sophie, but she's also, he did well with Sophie, so I think it could work. Yeah.
So I'll pick Hannah. I think that she's got a lot of upside and another try.
I think a cool thing too, while you were talking that I was thinking about is these are all people who have in some way been slighted at a final tribal council.
True.
So potentially the jury votes will be way different in
really
this
interesting.
Season, like because they're thinking of how they lost and why they lost, and they might see the nuances of a game that other people wouldn't see.
That's a great point.
Like I was just thinking Aubrey, she would be more likely to vote for Hannah because Aubrey lost the game that Hannah lost as well.
Yep.
For slightly different reasons, but very similar situations.
Totally. So. Yeah, that's a great point. It makes me think of like what people have said before, and that people are on the jury are looking to vote for the person to win that they can say like, I don't know, like that person beat me at the game I was trying to play or whatever. Where, in an even broader sense, you could look at the people on the jury could say like, I want to vote for the person that represents like the game that I played when I should have won. You know? That would be really interesting and would make like I think a really fun final tribal too.
Definitely. I think it would be really tricky in this season if like you had an edge of extinction type of thing, because I think these people would be really torn. Like obviously Gavin's gonna be like, I'm not voting for the edge of extinction winner, unless it's him. You know,
True.
Like it's all about perspective.
Wouldn't that be a wild ride? It's like, I got beat by the edge of extinction last time, and so I'm gonna go there and win.
Yeah, it would be crazy. I mean, that's Survivor. I could see it happening for sure.
Well, at CBS, at Jeff, at everybody. Here's your idea for a season. We'll take a cut of the earnings. We'll gladly take it. You're welcome for coming up with this idea. You can just go ahead and take these tribes right from us if you want to. Would love the cut, though.
Or just let us come out and do press, maybe.
That would be so fun. Or you can just let us play. Take out the last 2 picks and let us play instead. Who are these 2 random people in this returning players season? First gone, 100%.
We could convince them we're like a losing finalist no one remembers. I mean, who's Becky Lee?
Right.
Anyways.
We played in Survivor South Africa. We were losing finalists from International Survivor.
I'll have to perfect my accent.
That's true. Well, hey, thanks for doing this draft with me. Super fun.
Definitely. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, for sure. And thank you for listening to our Losing Finalists season draft. Make sure that you subscribe to the feed because, you know what, I haven't even told my Outwatch fam that this is what we're doing next. But the next thing we're going to be doing for our normal season is going to be a short mini series where we're going to be deep diving an amateur Survivor production that I produced. So it'll just be like a 4-episode series, but it should be a fun little departure, and it's mostly for selfish reasons. But make sure to stick around, and we'll have links to those videos and stuff. We'll talk about it when we get there. But thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.